Well, let's get back to it.
That's absolutely priceless, isn't it? It's so bodge. It's bodge right up and down. The problem is not that the public has an issue with Boris Johnson. The problem is that the public are tired of hearing criticism of Boris Johnson. Who the hell do you think is doing all the criticism, Bodge? The public. Get out, we said. Oh, all right, then I'll stay for another 2 weeks, he said. He's like the house guest from hell. Right, some texts and emails and such from last night. Austin emails, I'm curious why Michael Fabricant is such a loyal fan of Bodger, and I think I've worked it out. He's his first love child. Well, the hair's the same, but who's the daddy? I mean, which one's older? How old is Michael Fabricant? I mean, if he was a tree, we could cut him in half and count the rings. But you're not allowed to do that because of the Human Rights Act. Thank goodness that tetchy angular humanoid Dominic Dekche Raab is doing something about that.
My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory. I don't support the Human Rights Act, and I don't believe in economic and social rights. My name's Dominic Raab, and I'm a Tory.
Yeah, you had me at I'm a Tory. You didn't have to put the rest of it on. Yeah, we get it. Andrew in Herne Hill says, if Boris won't change psychologically, then perhaps a real psychologist can declare Boris unfit for office on the grounds of insanity. Insanity, Bodge. So this is that story. Boris Johnson today played down the Tories' bruising double by-election defeat as backbench rebels plot a fresh bid to oust him amid growing concerns over his premiership. Well, the growing concerns are that they're all going to lose their jobs. They're not really remotely bothered about about how he's doing, other than how it affects them personally. I mean, it's not like they're doing it for patriotic reasons. They're not running the country for the benefit of the people of the country. They're running the country for the benefit of the people that are running the country. It is reported that the Prime Minister took personal responsibility for humbling losses in Tiverton and Wakefield. No, he didn't. He said the votes gave the public a safety valve of letting off at governments. Yeah, you know what? Yelling at someone to get out is not letting off steam. It is literally wanting them to get out. You don't have to read between the lines. Just read the lines. Bodge claimed voters were fed up with hearing about how he had stuffed up in recent months. Like that's the problem. Yeah, we're just so bored of all these people criticising you, Bodge. If only you could just brush them aside. Or, here's a novel thought. Maybe just do less that makes people criticise you. Have you considered that? No. Johnson claimed voters were fed up of hearing about how he had stuffed up in recent months and insisted, if you're saying you want me to undergo some sort of psychological transformation, that's not going to happen, he said. No, there's nothing wrong with him psychologically. Ain't that right, Bodge? That's, yes, very good. Car noise. And as for that line about the voters being fed up, hearing how he's stuffed up, that's right, we are tired of hearing about that. Maybe you could do less of it, rather than carrying on regardless and telling us that we are no longer bothered by him and what he does. How about you let us decide who and what we're bothered by? And the harumphing Bufton Tuftons of the 1922 committee, that lot, they run the rule over party confidence votes. Anybody have any confidence in the current Premier?
No.
Not really. Only he does. He has 100% confidence in himself at all times. He's practically perfect in every way. He just gazes upon his reflection in the mirror and thinks, wow. The PM suffered a party conference poll earlier in the month, and he won, but not by an amount which means that he actually won. 41% of blue seats in the House didn't back him. And if you take out the ones that rely on him for extra money, honey, It was something like 3/4 of the MPs who expressed a preference said, would you just please go? And all he heard was, welcome, come back in. I mean, delusional doesn't come into it. You just run out of words, really. I've gone through all of my emotions. The 41% of blue seats in the House didn't back him. And under current committee rules, another referendum on the leader cannot be held for another year. Hey, Conservative Party members, do you think there'll be an actual Conservative Party in another year?
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
No, he doesn't know anything. That goes without saying. But I don't mind if you remind us at regular intervals.
I don't know anything.
Pardon?
I don't know anything.
What's that again?
I don't know anything.
He doesn't know anything. The Prime Minister spoke to Sky News and asked about his comments on Friday that he expects voters to beat him up. He said, well, I was speaking metaphorically. Well, I'm not sure about that. Let's have a poll. Anybody want to beat him up? He said, I was speaking metaphorically, and what I mean is that when you're the leader of a country, in good times and in bad, you have to think about the criticisms that you get. Good times? When were they? He said, so what I'm saying is politics is about allowing people to have the democratic safety valve of letting off at governments. Not letting off like that. Oh, come on. Head out of the gutter, please. He says, but then the job of a leader is to say, well, what is the criticism that really matters here? He just doesn't hear it, does he? Any negative comment about him, he just doesn't hear. It's like he has selective deafness. And he defended the impact of his own behaviour on voters, insisting that people want to hear less about the things that he stuffed up and more about the government's agenda. What agenda? This man is deluded. He's had a lifetime of being hailed as some sort of genius. Someone special, a golden boy, to be revered. To the point now that he's so spoiled, he only hears cheers even when the crowd is going... He's like the house guest who never leaves. Even when you open the door for him and throw his bags out in the street. Thanks, Bodger, you've delighted us enough.
Bye-bye.
0345 6060 973. David in Leeds says, hi, Nick. The Crime Minister says he's not going to transform, which basically means he's going to carry on lying and law-breaking, and he wants us peasants to stop questioning him. Yes, nutshelled. Exactly right. If we peasants would just stop questioning him, everything would be all right. That's the message. Why don't we just mind our own business and let him get on with strip mining the country? Oh, have you heard about his tree house? I mean, talk about living in another world. I'll get to that in a while. Derek in Brixton says, I think your bus stop correspondent from Hull is actually Zippy from Rainbow. Oh, these are texts and emails from last night. Some of them may not make much sense tonight. But if you were listening to last night's show, oh, talk about hilarious. They do get squirted up the internet as a podcast, by the way. Almost immediately they're over. So you could listen to last night's show while this night's show is on. But I don't recommend you do that. Wait until LBC is off the air. And then you can start listening to podcasts of LBC shows. You'll find them on Global Player. And it's called the Nick Abbot, the whole show. We take the news and the ads out. It means you'll use less electricity because it takes less time to listen to. And by the end of the year, you'll have saved up enough money to call up your fuel provider and tell them you can't afford the bill. It's a service that we provide.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Nick Abbot, the whole show, it's called. Or just do an internet search on my name, Nick Abbot's Podcasts. Red Hill. Hello, Nigel.
Oh, good evening, Nick. Yes, referring to, you said perhaps Boris is in another world, in Treehouse, Peppa Pig world. You're hilarious. I was listening last night. You said perhaps his nose is growing and things like that. It's hilarious. I just had to phone in. Yeah,
You had to? Okay. All right. Well, thanks for doing that, Nigel. Appreciate it. 0345. He just had to. It was in him and it had to come out. Don't keep it in. Let it out. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet @LBC. Text 84850.
What's he got to be depressed about?
Oh, blimey, where do I even begin? 0345 6060 973. How about this for a start? Tom tweets, no sooner has the longest day... Hang on, I'm going to cough. That's better. Tom tweets, hi Nick, no sooner has the longest day passed and autumn arrives in southwest Wales, pelting us with heavy showers and 40-mile-an-hour winds. Still, the good news is it's only 6 months till the AZ of 2022. Hashtag winning. Yeah, it's like blooming autumn outside. What's that about? Let me just check. I'll check while you wait. I won't do the full weather forecast. I've done that yesterday. Plus, the weather forecasters don't know what they're talking about. I mean, they change their minds like the direction of the wind. Literally. Oh, well. Well, it's not a heat wave, but it's not much. For the next 2 weeks, not much rain. 70, 73, 74, the high. Meh. It's just like one of those summers that just sort of comes and goes, no big deal, and you're plunged straight back into autumn before you know it. Oh, well, never mind, it's just life. This says, only way to get rid of the mindset of Bojo, hear the truth, is to put him under hypnosis. Would make for a great show, audience figures would skyrocket. Well, some of that made sense in English, but I do understand the concept. Yeah, put him under hypnosis. Maybe we'd get him to walk around like a chicken. Lay an egg for us, Bodge. Cambridge, hello, Jim.
Hi.
Yes, Jim.
First time caller, so a bit nervous.
Good man. Does it help if I say, get on with it?
So, Boris can spend 3 mil on wallpaper, yeah?
Say what?
Jim can spend 3 mil on wallpaper, yeah?
He can spend £3 million on wallpaper. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Right.
He can spend £3 million on wallpaper.
Mm-hmm.
He can do the bare minimum just so we can put our energy bills down, but he can't.
Right. Okay, I heard some of those words. He spent £3 million on wallpaper. I mean, you wouldn't think that's possible, but according to our correspondent, them's the facts, Jack. Thanks a lot, Jim. 0345 6060 973. It's going swimmingly so far, yes?
Yes.
Rosina emails, Dear Nick, I was the girlfriend of a British virtuoso jazz drummer, his every solo mesmerising, musical and seemingly impossible. The sheer joy of this was what drew me initially. Your caller Saul described such playing very well last night. Check out Elvin Jones, Joe Morello and many others, and our own Brian Spring. No, Rosina, I won't. I don't want to and you can't make me. A jazz drummer doing a solo. Wow, that sounds fascinating.
Boring.
Yeah, it's a no from me. Tower Hamlets. Hello, David.
Hello, Nick. Very nice to speak to you.
David.
I don't know if you were able to listen to the full BBC interview this morning on the Today programme.
No.
May I say, it was excellent, but there was something afterwards.
The interview with whom?
Michelle Hussein on the Today programme.
Yeah, but who's she interviewing?
Oh, yes. Well, none other than the gentleman that you call the Bodger.
Oh, Bodge.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
Right.
That's right, in Africa, in deepest Africa.
Yes.
And the one thing was missing, and maybe you'd know this better than me. Maybe it's a part of protocol in terms of information warfare. Mm-hmm. But she never asked him. It was really excellent, may I say that to you. I know LBC likes to think they do good interviews, but this was an excellent one. The one thing that was missing is that she didn't actually say, but, excuse me, Prime Minister, but you are not trusted.
Yeah.
She never said that. Maybe you're not allowed to say that, because then it would be interesting to see to what extent he'd say, oh, people can trust me.
Well, he would say that. I've seen him being asked that before, and he just brushes it aside as though nobody asked him that question in the first place.
And the other thing is, he was asked, you probably know this, maybe you said this before I came on, he was asked on what basis would he feel that he needs to resign. And intriguingly, he said regarding Ukraine. And then on the news...
It's the only... That's the reason he keeps going to Ukraine. Not that he has, special feelings for the people of Ukraine. Why would he? He doesn't have special feelings for the people of this country.
But
so
ironically...
We know that. So it's the only thing that he can cling to, which is why he goes there a lot. And it gives him an opportunity to get out of the country when he's in a scrape.
But it was so interesting. I think it was the 6 o'clock news tonight. They first of all obviously came out with what he was saying to cover himself. And then they maybe didn't realise that. Then the next item on the news was about the advances made in the Ukraine by the Russians.
Yeah.
But he hasn't offered to resign yet.
Not yet,
anyway,
no.
that's a different matter.
Right. Okay,
Just
thanks a
want to say
lot.
that,
All
yeah.
right, cheers, David. 0345 6060 973. I didn't like that bit about LBC likes to think we do good interviews. What did that mean? You didn't think you were going to get away with that one, mate? That one didn't pass me by. I noted that one down. You're going to pay for that later. Arjun and Penge emails, Hi Nick, listening to you live today. Normally I listen to you on catch-up at 1.5 times speed to save electricity, so everything sounds funny tonight. Slowed down. Why would you want to listen at 1.5 times speed? Why? What? Huh? That doesn't sound like a good idea. I mean, it might be nice to have that facility, but why would you want to listen to something like this at 1.5 times normal speed? I mean, if you were trying to, catch up with your homework or something, you were listening to something that was imparting, quality information that you needed to retain, and there was a lot of it, then I get it. But not something that's supposed to be amusing. Maybe it sounds funny-er. John says, best crowd involvement with the band at Glastonbury I've seen so far was Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds. Not a big fan of Glastonbury in recent years. I'd like to see more like the 80s and the 90s. Well, yeah. What was the crowd involvement with Noel Gallagher's High Flying Birds, by the way? Did they just sort of leave? Did they say, haven't you got any good songs? Something like that. Noel Gallagher's I've seen Oasis live, and they were dull boring. So dull. All right, and every song sounded a bloomin' same, and they have got zero stage act. They just stand there stock still. Not for me, no thanks. It was funny though, watching drunk fat white guys dance to rock music. Because what was on stage was so boring, I just started looking at the audience. Amused me. Bournemouth. Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Nick. How you doing?
Good, thanks.
I'm not a first-time caller, so I'm not nervous. It's okay.
All right.
I just wanted to call you. I agree with all your comments with regards to Bodger, because I can't get over how he just, anything he does, he's not worried about.
No.
I mean, on Question Time this week, Mick Lynch, I'm not a great union man, but he came up with a fantastic word to describe Bodger, which was unembarrassable.
Yes, I saw that, yeah.
It seems that anything the guy does, he's not embarrassed by the slightest. I mean, after Wallpapergate, you then get this thing in the press day about £150,000 for bulletproof windowed treehouse.
Yeah.
And you think, who's paying for that? And wouldn't he learn from the thing? But he doesn't give a damn.
He absolutely doesn't. It's because he's spent his entire life a spoilt, sticky-fingered, fat little child getting away with absolutely everything all the time. He's just a big, spoilt baby. And this is what we've got as the leader of this country. It's just incredible. And he is in that unembarrassable regard, he is the exact spitting image of Donald Bloomin' Trump.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Unembarrassable. And it's a great bonus to him and Trump. If you are incapable of being embarrassed, it allows you to do anything you like. Stephen?
Tomorrow, and then for the G7 summit, and then he's going to for the NATO summit. I mean, the guys away. By the time it comes back, he'll be overthrown.
Well, he's hoping that it all will have died down by the time he gets back, is what he's hoping.
But the rebels have the way, he'll be out.
Well, see, I'm not sure about that, because they are thinking, like Tory MPs are thinking, what's best for me personally, which is a pretty terrible way to run a country, really. I mean, I thought that we were paying them to do what's best for this country, but it turns out that this country is way down on their list of priorities. It's them personally, then the party, then the country. Definitely in that order. And so they're making a decision based on whether they personally will keep their jobs. And they're casting around thinking, well, who's going to take over? Who's going to replace Bodge, a proven winner up to this point, and stand in his stead? And they're thinking, well, Liz Truss? That's a no. Who else? Particularly cabinet ministers, particularly those who are reliant on Bodge for a job. They're thinking, who else would look at me and think, yep, that's the chap I want? So they're all looking at being slung out on their bottoms should anybody else be occupying number 10. And that's the reason why I suspect that just enough of them will keep him where he is. And I'll restate my case. I think that the other parties should be determined to keep him there. Why they're demanding that he leave, I don't know. I mean, let's not pretend otherwise. All politicians are in it for themselves, to a certain degree. I mean, some are much worse than others, but they're just human beings. They're not robots.
Affirmative.
They're not programmed to only act in the interests of others. They're human beings. Of course they're acting in their own interests. What is bizarre is they seem to be doing the speciality of the left, shooting themselves in the foot by trying to get the man that could get the left-leaning parties elected out of number 10. The Tories will, I know precisely what they'll do. They'll come up with somebody who doesn't look like Bodge or sound like Bodge or act like Bodge, but they'll keep moving in the same direction, just more stealthily, and they'll present themselves as a brand new party. They'll probably get a new logo and everything. It'll probably be, I don't know, a picture of the sun. Not the newspaper. The actual sun. You know, with a rainbow over it or something like that. We're all new. We're a brand new party. Or it'll be like lips puckering for a kiss. You know, like the Rolling Stones logo, but without a tongue. No tongues.
Disgusting.
Or it'll be a tree, or like a robin or a squirrel or something cuddly like that, like a little puppy dog. And they'll say, "We're new, brand new Conservative Party." They'll probably change their name as well, the Caring Party. They'll be the exact same people, funded by the exact same people, going in the exact same direction, but they'll pretend that they're a brand new entity. And they'll say, we'll give you more money. And just enough people in the country will go, oh, right you are. We believe you. You'll give us more money. You got our votes. Because we wouldn't want any of those socialist, Marxist, Corbynites, lefty activists running the country. So the left seems to be, reverting to their speciality, which is forming a circular shooting squad and taking themselves out by insisting on Bodge leaves number 10. If I were them, if I were running the Labour Party or the Lib Dems or the Greenies or any of those, for my own personal self-interest, I would insist on Bodge remaining there. I'd work night and day to keep him where he is so that the public remembers who is running that party when it comes around to the next general election. What's interesting is the public aren't waiting for the leaders of the opposition parties to get their act in order. The public are swerving around them.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Anybody care care what this guy thinks.
No!
Rona in Purton, if indeed there is such a place, texts, Evening, Nick. Apparently Michael Fabricant is 72 years old. Wow. Is he? How old's his hair? Oh, that's the next line. His hair is considerably younger. You beat me to it there, Rona. He says, by the way, I have now finished all episodes of Ozark. I was shocked at a certain twist in the last episode. I wasn't expecting that, says Rona. Yeah, no, neither was I. And nor did I really believe it in the context of the rest of the story. It seemed a bit, really? Not that great. But the rest of it, very good. No spoilers.
Warning, warning.
You don't have to worry about that on this show. By the way, Bambi's mother gets shot. Did I mention that? Desiree in Sheffield says, my washing machine came up with an error code indicating a draining error. Wait a minute. I'm on the wrong page. Where is it? I can't find it. Oh, it's maybe it's not there. It's somewhere. Oh, it's going to be hilarious. Oh, there it is. From the top, Desiree in Sheffield says, my washing machine came up with an error code indicating a draining error, the exact same fault I get from Johnson et al. Every time I see their smug mugs. It's a draining error. In his case...
It can only be attributable to human error.
That was worth waiting for, no?
No.
Not really. Darby, hello, Simon.
Hello, Nick. First-time caller. Love the programme.
Thanks.
I'll get straight to it. Just before Partygate, do you remember the journalist who went into the House of Commons and naughtily took samples from all the toilets and found cocaine everywhere?
Now, is that did that actually happen, or is that one of those urban myths?
No, he did, because the Speaker reported it to the police just afterwards.
Right.
But what I want to bring up is the fact that we've heard absolutely nothing about it since. So hopefully some journalists are listening tonight and go and have a dig around and find out what's been happening.
Yeah, maybe they're all too stoned.
But it seems to have got overshadowed by Partygate, but it could be something that rears its head up again, you never know.
Yeah, well, maybe the two are perhaps tangentially connected. You never know. All right, thanks a lot, mate. 0345 6060 973. Houses of Parliament. Cocaine Houses of Parliament. Cocaine traces found in UK Parliament, including near PM's office. This is December of last year. House of Commons Speaker Lindsay Hoyle contacted the police over reports of cocaine used in the UK Parliament. A report in the Sunday Times said cocaine traces were found in 11 of 12 bathrooms tested in the parliamentary estate. Wow. The paper reported that there is a cocaine culture in Parliament that includes household names and young MPs. Yeah, and old MPs too, I bet. Well, I am stunned. Aren't you stunned?
No.
Not really. Does explain a lot. Does explain a lot. Dan says, Bodge has just told reporters that he wants to remain in power till the mid-2030s and have 3 terms. Can you ask the first texter how to live at 1.5 times normal speed? Yeah, can we just fast forward to the end, Bodge? He is out of his mind. What's he talking about? He wants to... The people are asking you to leave. All he hears is applause in his mind everywhere he goes. It's because it's all he's ever heard. He keeps saying that we can't... he and his acolytes keep saying that we can't change the leader in these, these straitened times. These are very, very difficult times. Unprecedented, I believe, is the word they use a lot. These unprecedented times require stability. Yeah, and we've got this bloke.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
The worst possible person in the worst possible time. And the excuses are getting really old. Like but don't forget about the vaccine rollout. And then they kind of run out. We got Brexit done. Yeah, how's that going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
It's just abysmal. It's so bad they have an entire person who resembles a Third Reich Swizzle stick. You know who I mean.
I don't know anything.
Him. He is tasked with finding a benefit of Brexit, and he can't do it. What does he do all day? He's farmed out his job to the general public. He's actually asked us to comb through EU law and find ones we don't like. I mean, is this real life or am I hallucinating? What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Patrick in Guildford says, saw Bodge on TV waddling along... waddling? That is actually accurate, yes. He saw a Bodge waddling along beside Carrie as she took him by the hand. Is she actually married to him, or is she his geriatric nurse? Edward says, is Religious Ken still waiting on line 1 from last night? Maybe he could make a good glamorous assistant and save us all in the process. That would mean allowing him in the building.
Warning, warning.
That ain't happening. Not now, not ever, never. Let's have Connecticut. Martin.
Hi there. I'm amazed that cocaine tracers hang around for so long because...
Take that out. He waited so long to say something that you shouldn't ought to say on the radio. Can't chuck around accusations like that. Maybe he means that they were, the individuals that he just referred to were, strict about cleanliness. They would go around with a duster, making sure that everything was spick and span. It was probably that he meant. Dean in Norfolk says, regarding Bodge's new treehouse, who'll be picking the wallpaper and who's paying for it? And will they be able to hold a party in the treehouse? This is an indication of how far removed they are from us. Bodger Johnson wanted to build a treehouse fitted with bulletproof glass for his son, who is apparently at risk of assassination. How bizarre. He wanted to build a treehouse for his son at Chequers. Now, Chequers is this vast mansion that is fully cleaned and staffed and packed to the gunnels with the finest comestibles known to mankind on us poor dopes who pay taxes, just so that Bodge and his ilk can enjoy themselves at our expense. And it's in vast acres of land. This enormous place, which has got hot and cold running armed police persons patrolling it at all times. Why do they need bulletproof glass for his son? Anyway, let's skip that part. We'll come to the money, honey. Now, if you haven't actually read this story yet, then sit down and grip onto something firm because you're not going to like it. Bodger Johnson wanted to build a treehouse for his son at Chequers at a cost of £150,000. £150,000.
What?
Yeah. Until it was politely described to him that people might not like that because actual real houses cost £150,000 in the red wall seats. The Prime Minister reportedly wanted to use money from a donor to build the luxurious playhouse for his son Wilf. I mean, does this man pay for anything? Seriously, Bodge, it looks like you don't pay for lunch, you don't pay for dinner, you don't pay for your furniture, you don't pay for your wallpaper, you don't pay for your holidays, and you don't pay for your kids. Is there anything you do pay for?
I can't comment on that.
Even though Number 10 aides warned Johnson that it would cost more than buying a house in some parts of the country, the project was only scrapped when the PM's close protection officers suggested it could be a security risk as the treehouse might be visible from the road. And he just batted aside the concerns that it might not look good to spend more on a house for a child as a toy than an actual house of one of his constituents because, he wanted it, and what the bodge wants, the bodge gets.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
There were reportedly worries about whether such a large donation would be seen as a conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. Conflict of interest. There is no conflict of interest with the dear leader. Everything must be in his interest, or it doesn't happen. No conflict. Only concord. Sue emails, Nick, do you think the voters of Wakefield and Tiverton and Honiton deserve a round of applause for bringing about the beginning of the end of the Tories and giving us all a glimmer of hope at last? After all, if we'd wanted to watch the Mafia in action, we could have watched The Godfather or The Sopranos.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Sue, for giving me the opportunity to play that clip. One of my favourites.
Absolutely.
What else? How many pages have I got? Only 5 pages of closely typed messages to get through. I'll just never do it. I'm very bad at my job. Chelsea, hello, Mark.
Nice. Good evening. Hello. Yeah, Watcher. Very, very quickly.
Watcher?
I found very interesting.
Watcher?
Yeah, well, you liken me to Reese Mogg, when I say hello. So I'm going to say Watcher now. Now,
Right.
Anyway, what's his name? God, you distracted me. Wheeling out the big names from mostly Thatcher's time and cabinet to ask what they think of this disaster has been interesting. Heseltine had substance and gravity this morning on your radio station because he had his own readies, so nobody could buy him. So he didn't have to become a director on anybody's firm and, give hundreds of millions of pounds worth of contracts to friends for PPE equipment that was reject rubbish that cost lives. But no one talks about corporate manslaughter and embezzlement. It's the cake he might have eaten in number 10 for Boris Johnson. But what I found really amusing was when some young journalist was or old journalists, some of them just didn't remember, and they wheeled out, I don't know what his real name is, unlike Priti, who remains Patel, this was changed from a Lithuanian name. He was chairman of the National Security and Intelligence Committee, so your life and mine depended on him to an extent at the time. Sir Malcolm Rifkind, my MP in Kensington and Chelsea at the time, the Sun newspaper sent a Chinese lady posing as a Chinese lady with billions.
No, wait a minute. She was a Chinese lady posing as a Chinese lady. How did she do that?
So basically a British-born journalist of Chinese origin looking Chinese, but not actually from the People's Republic of China holding billions in cash.
But where's this going? Where's this going, Mark?
It's very quickly, 7 words, it's going to say that he then resigned in disgrace because the Sun newspaper pointed out that he was putting himself up for
Well,
sale.
that was the old days, Mark, when people who were disgraced used to resign. Now, of course, they just blast through, convinced that the boos they hear echoing from the terraces are, in fact, cheers. Or they just don't care. That's actually more like it, isn't it? They're not deluded, they just don't care. All right, thanks a lot, Mark. 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Don't touch me, or I'll kill you.
Eddie texts, Rees-Mogg named numerous advantages of leaving the EU. Top of the list is that we are now able to change the signs in the Dartford Tunnel from kilometres to yards. These signs tell you the distance to the nearest emergency exit if you break down in the tunnel. This is worth leaving the EU. 4. You missed off the 4 part. Yeah, I know, I saw that. It's just toe-curlingly embarrassing. Like he's standing there, wittering away, pushing his spectacles up his nose. The Third Reich Swizzle stick. I mean, really, that's what all of this mess was for. And they couldn't come up with anything else. Sovereignty. Meaningless. It's some individuals saw the way that the European Union was going as regards allowing people to get away with avoiding tax, and they thought, oh, hell, we'd better get out of that then. And here we are. 0345 6060 973. Marble Arch. Hello, Adam.
Hey there, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Just listening to you, actually, while you were speaking, I really don't think Boris is acting like he's not a permanent resident. He doesn't seem like a good tenant. Like, he's actually making structural changes, which I don't know if any renter or part-time lodger should be doing, but that's insane. It's news to me. But I was just calling following your discussion about rebranding. This week I was actually thinking that the Labour Party should change their name because of like negative association currently with the word Labour. If you ever like look at the hashtag or hear in the news the word Labour, it's labour shortage, labour crisis. And I was just remembering, like, do you remember during the pandemic how the Corona beer had to put out a message to Americans who thought that Corona... So I thought maybe Labour should do the same, because we don't want to be associated when like word association, the first thing that pops into your head or you hear is going to be something bad.
Yeah.
Maybe they should change themselves to, like, Cute Kitten Party or Tea Party.
Chocolate ice cream party.
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't like that?
Sunshine and lollipops, and I really think it would do better for them.
The Sunshine and Lollipops Party. Think about it, Keir Starmer. These are all excellent suggestions.
Yeah, I think it will work well for them, really, because if you hear that until Brexit's over, we're going to be hearing labour shortage, labour crisis, manual labour, and it's not exactly positive sounding.
Yeah, laborious sounds a little bit like labour as well, and you wouldn't want that in your life either. Yeah, good, excellent suggestions, these. The Rainbow Lollipop Party. I'd vote for them. I'd vote for them twice. Thanks a lot, mate. Matt texts, now that NASA is officially studying it, will you acknowledge the reality of unidentified aerial phenomenon? No, Matt, I will not. UFOs, on the other hand... Why have they changed the name? Unidentified aerial phenomenon. Is that the new official name for a UFO? Unidentified flying object. I mean, what's the difference? Why change its name? You're not going to put people off. They're still going to be, out there believing. The truth is out there. Still going to be believing that, regardless of what you call them. And by the way, if it was out there, it would be, without question, the biggest story in history. And people don't seem to be really that bothered. I mean, explain away all of the videos that we've seen, all of the fast jet fighter pilots who are, some of the most calm, rational and stable people in the world. It's part of their job. They're not exciting people like Tom Cruise, the people that he plays in that movie. They're not like that. Fast jet fighter pilots are so boring. They're boring people. They have to be. They're flying at 500 miles an hour. You've got to be boring to be able to do that. I mean, look at the current F1 stars. Boring to a person. That some of them have, hired clothes stylists to dress them in clown get-up to make them appear more interesting, but it's not working. Not really. If they're seeing this stuff, then they're not making it up. They're not on drugs in planes, and they haven't lost their minds. So it must be something. And if they ain't seen nothing like it before, then nobody else has either. I mean, if they're flying equipment that is at the cutting edge of what human beings can achieve, and something is flying rings around them and then disappearing, well, there's got to be something. Got to be something out there, eh? Luke in Warwickshire says, I'm not sure what I dislike more, this government or or drum solos. Yeah, I'll restate my case about drum solos, and it is... No. In that order. Hemel Hempstead, Sanjeevan.
Hello, Nick. Good evening.
Yes, sir.
Can I make a suggestion, please?
What?
All the red wall voters, they chip in.
Yeah.
And they enable Boris Johnson to donate their money. for Boris Johnson to build the bulletproof treehouse because they are the ones who betrayed their electoral roots to put this big dog mess into the power.
Big dog mess.
And he's in big dog mess, which is stultifying the country at this present time.
Yeah.
So I think they should all chip in and enable Boris Johnson to build that lovely bulletproof treehouse.
Right. Well, I think you've got something there. These people have to take responsibility. They knew what they were voting for, apparently.
Nick, one other point you said very earlier on, and this rung very true with me, is that any given opportunity, this man, he runs off to Ukraine to take cover. He does not give a damn. You are so on the point. He does not give a damn. He runs off there to have his head cradled by Zelensky at any given opportunity. Yeah. He doesn't give a damn. Such narcissistic, childish behavior. It's so pathetic.
Well, such narcissistic, childish behavior is what has got him to where he is. What's bizarre to him, I bet, and this is the reason that he can't quite get his head around it and accept responsibility and just do the decent thing and go, like people used to do in the old days, by which I mean more than 12 years ago, it's because he's never heard it before. He's never heard the sound of opprobrium. He's never heard boos coming from the gallery. It's always been cheers. Even when he's doing bad things, people have historically rooted for him because, it's just him, it's Boris. He's doing his best. That sort of thing. It's a mixture of he's doing his best and excusing his worst behaviour and delighting in that behaviour. He's the one that's getting away with it. Oh, if only I could get away with it like he gets away with it. He's my hero, that kind of thing. That's what he's had his whole life, which is why he can't quite get his head around where he is now, where people just don't want him around anymore. Even his own people don't want him around anymore. He's never had that before in his life. He's always been propelled onwards by a wave of approval and jealousy. He's the one that managed to do the things that other people will get locked up for. He carried on doing the most awful things to practically everybody he ever met, and still he gets cheered when he appears in public. People are rooting for him. And it just must be a bit of a head scratch for him. It's like, what's going on now? I got what I always wanted, and now I don't want it anymore. Which is why his answer to the people telling him that we have had enough is to think, well, what they actually want is more of me. It's just amazing, really. We're kind of stuck. Those. I've used this analogy for other reasons, but it's a bit like those silly vacuum cleaners, robots, those little round things that you set going and then you go to work and supposedly it hoovers your flat while you're out. I seriously doubt that it does that, but that's the idea. And it works, apparently, until it gets to a corner. And then it just it bumps against one wall and comes back and then turns slightly and then bumps against the other wall and it's stuck there. It can't think its way out. And that's where we are as a country.
This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Some nobody. And I can't stand him.
You know what? I don't want to talk about it, but this abortion thing in America, I don't think it's about what people are saying it's about. Because, phony religious types in America will say that they're just doing the work of God, like that. Every life is sacred until they're born, and then if they step out of line, then we want the death penalty. So it just doesn't add up what they're saying. I mean, the very same people that are saying, every life is sacred, they also want the death penalty, and they don't, and they also want open carry weapons. So they're not really they're not concerned about life at all. I don't think that's what this is about. I think it's about whether women should be allowed to have sex outside marriage. I think that's what this is. It's a reaction against the pill in the 1960s when having sex for women didn't come with such consequences, potentially. They're just out there enjoying themselves.
Disgusting.
So we want to put a stop to that. I think that's what it is. But like I said, I don't want to talk about it. 0345 6060 973. Kelly in Walsall says, perhaps Bodge wants to share the treehouse with his son so he doesn't have to keep running off to Ukraine or hiding in a fridge when the going gets tough. Yeah. When the going gets tough, the tough get waddling. This says, aliens won't come to Earth for fear of being sent to Rwanda. Well, at least if aliens do come to Earth and get sent and asked to be sent to our leader, we wouldn't have to send them to this bloke.
I'm president. Can you believe it?
Because they'd think that we were being sarcastic, and aliens from space do not take sarcasm very well. Believe me. Let's have Fulham. Hello, Martin.
Evening.
Martin.
Yes, thank you. Look, I just wanted to sort of phone in to moan that you don't give callers priority over text. So callers like me, and more importantly, the callers that come in and call in and drive you absolutely nuts and drive your listeners potty because they make mad calls.
Yeah.
They get overridden by all these texts you end up being because you keep advertising your text address or email address, and they take too long for you to call. And we can never get the tone or whatever of these texters and emailers. Whereas when you're speaking to them, you're actually having a proper conversation. You're like,
exactly.
Conversation.
I couldn't agree more.
But I didn't know whether your contract or you have your system with your arrangement you have with LBC means you have to. I don't know. Once somebody sent in text, you're obliged to read them out. But,
no, not at all. I tell you what, Martin. Can you pop this on a text for me, please?
My phone, I can't do text on my phone. But I wanted to, there's a couple other little quick points I wanted to say. Yeah. I think the botcher in chief is like Putin and lots of dictators and probably lots of politicians in this country in past ages. They surround themselves with a little sort of cocoon-like bubble of sycophantic toadies. Mm-hmm. A bit like Putin has in the KGB or whatever it's called now. And so it's like groupthink, and they all suck up to the leader, and they probably are scared to give him messages that might offend him, because a messenger might get shot. Yeah. And so it's a sort of a positive feedback situation.
Feedback
they just don't know what real life is like.
Exactly.
And the Bodgy, he has these photo opportunities. I never seem to see him interact with a normal member of public. And so how is he supposed to know what really normal people think about him?
He just assumes that we love him.
Yeah, I know. Oh, and another thing, going back, a small thing which comes up frequently, you and your shows. Yeah. Of course, when the weather's not hot enough for you, I thought, well, why don't you just emigrate? I mean, you know.
If I don't like it, why don't I leave the country? Yeah, all right, thanks a lot, Martin, because I want to live here. I mean, can you live here and wish the weather was better?
Well, it will do, don't worry. Just wait, global warming will take care of it.
Okay, well, I certainly hope so. It's taking its time. All right, thanks a lot, mate. Not the KGB anymore, of course. It's the Putin, rootin', tootin', shootin' Putin's team of nodding dogs. His acolytes, his quislings, the FSB, which, bizarrely, was Barry White's backing band.
Rock and roll!
Very, very odd that they should have repurposed themselves in that manner. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a mobile without a location called Morgan. Where are you, Morgan?
Where are you? I'm in fourth call. Hello.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Hi.
Now, wait a minute. Hang on. We've got an echo. It's insufferable. So we'll call you back. Or not. Maybe we'll call him back. Call back line 1. We'll see if we can't do something about that. That's very, very strange. We get that every now and again. And I suspect that people are listening in to our conversation. Highly suspicious. Gordon texts, robot vacuums work great and do not get stuck in corners.
Affirmative.
Jim emails, I've just been diagnosed with occasional Tourette syndrome. It only occurs when I'm watching PMQs. Caroline says, I don't watch PMQs. I just don't want to. I just don't. I just can't. I can't. Don't make me. I don't want to. But I saw clips of Mick Lynch. Now, you might not agree with Mick Lynch in any way, shape or form, but you cannot deny that he has a great way about him of dismantling those who think that they are superior to him. Various Tory bots have gone out and thought that, this will be easy. I will use my special public school debating skills to get around this knuckle-dragging numpty. And within about 10 seconds, the ashen look on their faces rather gives the game away that they think they have been bested. And he did it to every single one. They all tried it. It was clip after clip after clip of Mick Lynch just taking apart his inquisitors by their constituent molecules and leaving them in a pulsating goo on the floor. And the difference between him and the other people on those shows or the people that were interviewing him is that he talked like a human being. You remember when human beings used to talk, don't you?
No.
As opposed to people who have been programmed with lines to just repeat like nodding dogs. Yeah, he actually looked like a person speaking. And he told it like it is. You are a liar, he said. Liar! Over and over again. And his inquisitors didn't have any answer to that because it did not compute. They're not used to that. They're used to just spewing their lies unimpeded and unquestioned. And when somebody, a real human being, comes up against them and tells them like it is, they haven't got an answer to that because they haven't been programmed with an answer to it. So they just repeat the lie again and look smug, do a little smirk. You know who I'm talking about. The liar. Liar! That was funny. 0345 6060 973. Let's see if this bloke works now, or his phone does, more specifically. Morgan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
Yes, sir. Great, mate.
I think we should stop blaming Boris Johnson for the old Partygate. I think it's up to the blame of those slimy servants in Whitehall.
The slimy servants?
Aye, slimy servants. I bet you were partying up to the eyeballs yourself.
You bet I'm what?
You were partying up to the eyeballs yourself at the same time as Boris Johnson.
Partying up to my eyeballs?
Aye.
Yeah, that's me all over, yeah. I'm always having a party. Thanks a lot, mate. That was definitely worth calling him back. 0345 6060 973. Sounded like a listener with material to me.
Oh, no.
Caroline says, oh, no, I read that one already. It would have to be a very sturdy treehouse or it might end up like the swing once the Partygate lot found it. Yeah. And then I said it'd have to reinforce the ladder in case Daddy visits. And then I played that. There is an echo here. This says, Nick, Smug explained this week how a Brexit benefit is removing the escape route signs that we must place every 25 metres in tunnels, which have weird numbers because we use yards. The EU directive says no more than 25 metres. 25 yards is 22.86 metres, so it's more nonsense from the haunted pencil. Yeah, the description haunted pencil should be corralled in James O'Brien's show, because I believe that was his moniker. Mine is the Third Reich Swizzle stick, which is more syllables, but you may or may not like, depending on your disposition. Elaine emails, I think I've worked out why Bojo's treehouse is so expensive. Is it because it has to be big enough for all of his children? Yeah, however many there are. 0345 6060 973. Mansfield. Hello, George.
Hi. I feel a bit like Blondie hanging on the telephone.
Hanging on the telephone like Blondie. Yeah, it's the one across the hall.
Yes, that's the one. Two things. John about Kenny Everett last night. I'll bring the main subject up a little bit later on.
Kenny Everett? Yeah.
Yes. My uncle used to work for the Wiseman tendering company. Never heard of them, obviously. They used to tender out to Radio London, which was the older pirate radio station that were around in the 60s.
What do you mean by tender?
Tender, take the supplies out to them.
Oh, okay, on a boat.
On a boat, yes, on a small boat, yes.
Radio London.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
and that was what Kenny Everett was on, was it?
Kenny Everett, Dave Cash. In fact, that's where they started the Kenny and Cash show.
Right, because I get mixed up as to who was on Radio Caroline and who was on Radio
Yeah.
London. Yeah, I don't think I ever heard Radio. I don't think I ever heard. I don't think I ever heard Radio London, but I heard Caroline very sort of late on in the.
Yeah,
So I guess the
70s
mid
and so.
'70s, something like that.
Yeah, that's when it went really piratical. And so anyway, my uncle worked for for RCA Belgium, and he actually took out to Kenny Everett, thought you'd like this, the actual first copy, original copy to be played on the air of Strawberry Fields Forever.
Oh.
And actually handed it to Master Everett, who went dancing on with the deck and things like that, and then went downstairs to the Ode and played it to the world.
Yeah, played it over and over and over again, I bet. Like he did with
yes.
Bohemian Rhapsody. I think he took the needle off the record and he liked it so much he put it right back on the beginning of again and said, here, listen to this
yes.
again.
Yeah, my uncle actually worked with him, and he was just a fad at taping things and rerunning tapes and going records with sound effects and doing the advertisements on the ship. At them days, he was quite adept at it.
Yeah.
Kenny, yeah.
Memories, what memories? Okay, thanks for walking us down that lane, George. Appreciate
I
it.
just got another matter.
Oh, and another thing, yes.
We're talking about politics and the Tory party. I think an unknown little thing is the amount of house building that's going on, particularly within our districts.
House building.
House building.
I'll translate as we go along. Yes, house building.
House building. Sorry, it's my northern accent. I'm a red wall man. And the amount of greenery that's going under the bulldozer. Now, the significance of all this, obviously, is a lot of these seats will be minority seats. There'll be 3,000 or 4,000 swings. A lot of these houses that's going in fact, there'll be nowhere for Robin Hood to hide in Nottinghamshire in a bit. Will I think naturally turn to Tory voters who'll be housing in them. And I'm just thinking that a lot of the relaxation of the planning laws at the moment that's given the go-ahead for a lot of these developments is actually going to run the election when it actually arrives to a very close thing.
Yeah, the thing to cheer you in that regard, though, George, is how beautiful those new houses look. I mean, they are architectural wonders, no?
No.
Not really, no. They're identical, mean little hutches for human beings that would barely be large enough for a hamster, with tiny little windows and small rooms with no room for a cupboard because they're so tiny. How are builders allowed to get away with it? Because of the planning laws. Because planners allow them to. And in places where that chap was just speaking to me from, that I know exactly what they'll look like. Because they look the same everywhere. All of those tiny, mean little houses. And you only have to watch shows like, what's that bloke on Channel 4 that does the houses show? Now there's the houses show that he does that are big, grand, it's called Grand Designs. And there's the other one where house builders are given a plot by a council and told to build your own. And what results is something that looks like it would be in Holland or somewhere more enlightened, where people are allowed to build a home that is actually a delight to live in, somewhere that they would enjoy for the rest of their lives, as opposed to some pokey old hole that has been thrown up by a developer in the cheapest possible way, who then charge you massively over the odds because until recently and shortly in the future, you will be bribed by the government to buy these things, and so the developers whack up the cost, knowing that because you have been given taxpayer cash, you will be able to afford them. Help to buy, not help to buy. Help to make property developers more profitable is what that was. The quality of buildings in this country is absolutely shocking. It is. It just is. I think you'd have to go back to about sort of before the Second World War. And you see this in old buildings. Like if you own an old building or you live in one, they were made well. I mean, you try and drill a hole in the wall. I mean, I used to, my last house was 1930, something like that. You try to drill a hole in a wall and you've really got to put your back in it. Like builders would come around and go, God, what's this stuff made of? Well, it was made properly. Not like today where it's just flimsy and the windows are tiny and, God, it's just so mean because it maximises profit. And we put up with it. Let's not put up with it anymore. Well, it's too late, I suppose. And as for those developments of executive flatlets that they have scraping the sky in London, well, you know who's partly responsible for that.
Yeah. Wait a minute.
When he was mayor of London, did he not okay that hideous mess that has gone up in Vauxhall? Is that not his fault? It looks like, I mean, if they wanted Singapore on sea, that's what it looks like. Doesn't look like London anymore. Look west, and it could be anywhere. It could be Bangkok. Terrible. Anyway, you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC with Nick Abbott.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, this particular call flashing up on the indicator is from Tavistock. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. Listen, I've rung just to talk about the obscenity of the government, but I'll come clean first of all and don't start on me because an earlier email you read about having been the girlfriend of a jazz drummer, that was me, you see, because my actual name is Rosina, and that's what come up in the email. So,
right.
But don't go on about drum solos or I'll cry. So.
Actually, one of the best drummers I ever saw, and he was so good. I've forever since wanted to know who he was, but I can't remember his name, and I can't remember the singer in the band that he was playing for. I wish I could, and I know that doesn't really help. But it was a jazz band, and it was at the.
Where was it?
It was at that place in Chelsea, just off Sloane Square. What's that called? Cadogan Hall. It was a jazz guy, and he had set the drums up in an odd place because normally the drums are at the back, facing the audience, but he was side on. They'd set the drums up at the side of the stage, and he was side on, and he didn't look at what he was doing at all. He would just look at the audience while he was playing away, and he didn't sort of keep the beat. He was always changing the beat, and it was just mesmerising what he was doing because it was. And I mean, that's the essence of jazz drumming, isn't it? It's not like 4/4/4. It was he was all over the place, and just delighting in the fact that he wasn't. That he was really excelling himself, and it was just amazing to watch. But he wasn't looking at what he was doing. That's how good he was.
No, it sounds like Brian actually.
Right.
And if it was him, he often used to put his chin up and sort of soundlessly scream because an awful lot of effort goes into this drumming, as you can imagine.
Right? No,
or he'd sort of look to the side.
That's not what he did at all. No, it's
not what he did.
It was a black guy. If that helps. That narrows it down a bit. Right? No, okay.
Yeah. Oh, I wonder who it was.
So do I.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
I'll never know. Anyway,
never know.
Go on.
What a shame.
Yeah.
No, well, that's put me off my stroke now. That's very interesting. But listen, I cannot cope with these sums of money that are just being hurled around by these people. The government, you know, it's obscene. It is utterly, utterly obscene. And it's beyond. I mean, you're brilliantly funny, and that's fine with me. But you know, it is beyond jokes, isn't it?
It just nails down how little they think of sums that would change any of our lives. It's just pocket change to them. £150,000 for a tree house.
Yes, but you see, the obscenity of that. It doesn't occur to them to think about us because the populations think they're there to take care of the population, which is what they should be there for, but that's not what they're there for, as you put very succinctly earlier on. And what also really gets to me about all this is that people are still saying things like, well, I don't know if I like Keir Starmer.
Oh, for God's sake.
And there's 2 points about that. I mean, first is, do they actually know what a Prime Minister is for? That he's for
He's
running
not supposed
the
to be
country?
for entertainment
Are these
purposes.
people? No, and you're not having him round to tea.
No.
You will never know him in any case.
No.
Sorry.
Oops.
What the hell does it matter?
You restrained
You know?
yourself just in time there, Rose.
Oh, I know. You'd have disappeared me and I'd have never been allowed on again.
You're getting very emotional.
Calm down.
Yes, but you get so furious with it all, don't you? What?
I
It's
try
just
to,
such absolute nonsense. I mean, are they running the country? No.
No.
They're not.
Well, like I
And
said
yet,
before, the
I
people
don't like Keir Starmer.
the people who are running the country are not running the country for the benefit of the people. The people who are running the country are running the country for the benefit of the people who are running the country.
Well, that was the very statement I wished to. And then I meant, yes, that you said, and then you get people just saying about everything these days. This fatuous statement, Nick. It is what it is. I mean, I've had God's own
What does that
bother
mean?
trying to find anywhere to live. I know.
Yeah.
And then you say homelessness. Oh well, it is what it is.
Hey, Rose, I've heard that he's doing his best. So there's that.
Oh well, he must be doing then. There's a chap in a doorway today in Tavistock. Nowhere to live. People been spitting on him. I said, why don't they spit upwards instead of downwards?
Well, exactly. I mean, I can't remember how many times I've said that. People have been trained to blame those beneath them on the ladder for what ails them. Whereas it's the people above them on the ladder that are pushing them down, not the people below them on the ladder dragging them down. Yeah, got to go, Rose, but thanks a lot. 0345 6060 973. Dan in Newcastle says it's not so much the treehouse itself that costs the £150,000, it's all the branch managers you need. Oh no. A listener with material. Richard in Preston says, regarding last night's music song question, does your chewing gum lose its flavour on the bedpost overnight by Lonnie Donegan is a longer song title and 2 seconds shorter than the Buzzcocks. Does your chewing gum lose its flavour on the bedpost overnight? Is as long as ever fallen in love with someone you shouldn't have fallen in love with. I think that's a longer title. Does your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 words ever fallen in love with someone you shouldn't have fallen in love with? 13 words. We have a winner. I think the Buzzcocks win, but there is a longer one, and I can't remember what it is. If you missed last night's super show, we were whittering on about the longest title for a song, with and a song that also is very, very short. It takes longer to say the title of the song than it does to listen to the actual song. Can you believe that?
No.
0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Email nica@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's @lbc. By the way, one of the 3 podcasts that I do is called The Nick Abbot Habit. It is old shows. With my own sticky fingers, I take old shows and snip out the funny bits and then take those funny bits and squeeze them into a half an hour. And then I stick it out as a podcast on Monday. If you have a 30 minutes and you wish to be amused, it's concentrated funny. It's called The Nick Abbot Habit. Ask for it by name on an internet near you. The Nick Abbot Habit. It's on Global Player.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yes, sadly, this is all I have. 0345 6060 973. Let's have a call in Colchester. Judy.
That's what Cary Grant used to say, that, didn't he?
Did he?
Yeah, that's where that started from. He said that once in a film, and I think it stuck. So, still, he was a very handsome man of his day, so I don't mind being associated with that.
With Cary Grant, right.
Yes, it was Cary, wasn't it? It
Cary,
wasn't Gary, it was Cary Grant, yeah.
It is.
what you touched on a subject a few calls back that's very close to my heart, that of the new builds that there are nowadays.
Oh, God, aren't they awful?
Oh, do you know, I thought, well, I know it's just not me. It's not just me that feels it, but, you know, where I live in a rural area outside Colchester itself, and the push to build more and more new homes is just, it's overwhelming. And, you know, and I looked at some the other day that have fairly recently finished, and yes, on the face of it, they're opposite a huge field in the sunshine, looks wonderful, but they're full of windows, as you say, nowhere to put any storage when you go inside.
Well, when you say full of windows, what I meant was they have tiny windows. Houses have such small, mean little windows.
They do.
And the reason for that is there are rules and regulations about how insulated a home is, and bricks are cheaper than windows. That's why the windows are so small. Isn't that horrible?
It's awful, and one of the tricks they do quite often, they don't put the doors on when people are looking at the show house, because that gives more of a feeling of space. And I've known it be, and I've known it be that sometimes that when a door is actually put on, when it's opened, it's halfway across the window.
Right.
You know, but what they don't do, Nick, is when all the push for all the new builds are, despite what they may say that the developers have to do these things, they flipping well don't. They don't provide any infrastructure.
Of course not. Why would they do that? That would eat into their profits.
Absolutely. You know, I mean, that's, you know, why should us serfs expect them to do that?
Yeah.
You know, we've got a school that's bursting at the seams. We've got a doctor's surgery that's absolutely overwhelmed. And, you know, we're trying to fight against it, but...
all you have to do, Judy, is to become a successful millionaire, and then you will be able to send your children to Eton, and you will be able to avail yourself of private medicine. It's as simple as that. Well,
really. Well, if you like to... well, I think my daughter's a bit beyond that age now, being sent there, but...
Too late.
No, I mean, it's just like you say, it's very sad, and, you know... It is sad, and we've got a lovely community here. It was our carnival today, you know. And
carnival?
Yes, we had our carnival today.
In celebration of what?
Just our village carnival.
Oh, you just wanted to have a party.
Want to have a party and raise some money for all the different, you know, all the different things that are going on.
And so how was it?
Oh, it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Did you do any games? Did you do any games?
I didn't, because I was on the bookstall, so I was busy trying to sell some books.
Did anybody buy a book?
Oh yes, it was 40p each, or 4 for £1.
Right. Is that how you used to sell? Is that how you were selling them? 40p for £4 Is that how you said it?
If I knew if I knew them fairly well, it was but it's all very light-hearted, and there was so many dogs there, people with their dogs.
Oh, blooming dogs!
Oh no, I love dogs. I had a field day with them all, but no, it was a lovely occasion, and you know,
was it actually in a field?